Another day, another attack. Well, not another attack. Another day, another shooting, and another crappy response by ignorant leftists. So we're gonna go around and I have to respond to this because this happened in my home state of Texas. I mean, I didn't really want to do any more political stuff right now. I want to take a hiatus from it, but this happened in my home state. Sutherland Springs, not too far from San Antonio. San Antonio is one of my favorite cities in Texas. It's probably one of my favorite cities in the world because there's so much history there. But it was a bad situation. One thing I can tell you straight off the bat, it was a government screw up, and I'll tell you why in a minute. But I'm gonna give you some background on the shooter first. So right now I'm going to give you some background on the shooter. The shooter's name was a guy named Corey Feldman. He was discharged from the Air Force after he was charged with domestic violence. Yep, he also intentionally cracked open his infant stepson's skull, and he also beat up a dog. Now with that, do you think that the dude would have been in prison? Or do you think the dude would have served some time in prison, at least? Or that they would put his name in the national database for guns, well, not the national criminal database, so that way he wouldn't own a gun whenever they did a background check on him when he tried to buy one? No. That didn't happen at all. I don't know what happened. How this ignorant sack of shit was able to get his guns at a legal store. I don't understand how. I still don't understand how. I wish someone would answer it. And they need to investigate how the Air Force conducted this thing. But guy had a criminal record, things that should have put him in prison. He served in the brig for he was in the brig for 2 years, but then he was released, and then for some reason, the Air Force never put his name into the database, and he was able to purchase a firearm. Alright, and it's not the gun dealer's fault, as a lot of people, as not a lot of people, as a few of the ignorant leftists like to claim. It was a guy. Honestly, if the background check came through and it was negative, the guy sure as hell wouldn't have sold him. Alright? Not only because it's the right thing to do, but I mean, dude don't want to lose his job if that's his profession, is dealing in firearms. So, the guy buys these guns, and during this time, he was also feuding with his ex-wife's mother, and this has been going on for a few years, and he bought, I think, 4 guns within the past few years. And he bought a certain amount of guns in a certain amount of time. And then, just last week, he walked into the church where the mother of the ex-wife was going to, in Sutherland Springs. So he walked in there, and he started shooting. I don't know if she died or not, to be honest with you. I tried to keep myself off this issue, because, I mean, it was close to home. I don't really like talking about stuff when it hits close to home, but like I said, this needs to be said. Because there's so much bullshit going around it with all the politicization and crap. But anyway, he walked in, he starts shooting, he kills 25 people. And he could have killed more, but oddly enough, to these people on the left, they would think, oddly enough, an NRA instructor was in his home when he heard the gunshots, not that far from the church. Ran out there without his shoes on, got his gun from his gun safe, and he fired at the guy. And he caused him to flee. And he actually hit him a couple times before the dude ran off in a truck and then apparently took his own life. It's good that he's dead. I'm just disappointed he didn't die in a fair fight. I would would have loved to see that bastard shot and killed by another person. That's what he deserved. But anyway, so that guy was shooting at him. The good guy with the gun was shooting at him. I'm not going to give out his name because, I mean, it's all over the news. But he shot at him, and then he and another guy got in a truck, took off after him, and they were still trying to chase him down. The guy, like I said, Corey Feldman still shot himself right after it was all, just as it was all said and done, after he got shot a couple times by the NRA instructor. And it was a sad thing, but without the two guys that were shooting at him, well, that were chasing him, preventing him from causing more death, the death toll would have been more catastrophic. And President Trump said a pretty good thing about this to an ignorant NBC reporter who was trying to turn this into an embarrassment moment for Trump, but he actually handled the Texas shooting pretty well. His response, I think, was pretty good. Just like his response to Hurricane Harvey, I think he had an excellent response. Let me find that video for it. Hold on. Alrighty, I got the clip. It'll load. Come on, you son of a bitch.
Thank you. United States second and final question will go to Allie from NBC.
Come on.
Thank you, Mr. President. You talked about wanting to put extreme vetting on people trying to come into the United States. I wonder if there is extreme vetting on people trying to buy a gun. Buy a gun.
Well, you're bringing up a situation that probably shouldn't be discussed too much right now. We can let a little time go by, but it's okay if you feel that that's an appropriate question, even though we're in the heart of South Korea. I will certainly answer your question. If you did what you suggested, there would have been no difference 3 days ago.
Exactly right.
And you might not have had that very brave person who happened to have a gun or a rifle in his truck go out and shoot him and hit him and neutralize him. And I can only say this: if he didn't have a gun, instead of having 26 dead, he would have had hundreds more dead. So that's the way I feel about it.
And are you
Not going to help.
And are you considering any kind of gun control policy going
When you look
forward?
at
Because
the city with the strongest gun laws in our nation is Chicago. And Chicago is a disaster. It's a total disaster. Just remember, if this man didn't have a gun or a rifle, you'd be talking about a much worse situation in the great state of Texas. Thank you.
Like I said, this is an excellent response. So what she does is she tries to equate this to immigration, which is the stupidest argument, alright? I love how people on the left love to bash on Trump because of his immigration policies, quote unquote, but he holds like 50-50 on that position, where he's like half to the left and half to the right. Border wall, obviously the right thing, and then he wants to keep DACA. That's obviously a big left thing. But she tries to equate this shooting to immigration, which makes no sense at all, because the guy who did it wasn't an illegal immigrant, blah, 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 blah. Top that off, this was a dude who was dishonorably discharged. Alright, and she doesn't, and Trump was right. He said, this shouldn't have happened. If the NRA instructor did not step out of his house, grab his gun, and start shooting at that guy, you would have had a lot worse situation. It would have probably gotten 50 people. Probably, if that motherfucker was lucky, it would have been like Las Vegas shooting levels or above it. Trump said, just like Trump said, he was exactly right when he said this. Exactly right. And the left's response to this is, of course, been absolutely insane. You have a bunch of people like Chelsea Handler who are blaming Republicans for this because, you always blame Republicans after a mass shooting. Why wouldn't you? It's always their fault. It's always the Republicans' fault. But it's not. This was the government's fault. Which this is also a situation which should prove to everyone that mass shootings are, that no matter what they claim, none of those mass shootings would have been stopped. None of these mass shootings would have, this mass shooting in particular was not stopped by background check, which also, and not only that, also people should also realize that background checks aren't going to stop some people. Like in Chicago, like Trump referenced, where in Chicago, most of the gun crimes that are committed are by illegal guns. Right? They smuggle in weapons, trade them on the black market. Gangs use them all the time. They shoot up a lot of people. In Chicago, okay? People die there a lot every day. More people have died in Chicago over the last 15 years than the entire war in Iraq and Afghanistan combined. And they are the strongest nation on guns. They're the strongest city on guns. Alright, they are the strongest ones on guns. And it's insane how the left ignores this. Alright? I'm telling you, even if this guy didn't get the guns from that guy because of the background check thing, I guarantee you he would have found some other way. I guarantee you. And the left, once again, blame Republicans. Because that's what they want to do. Alright, and then there are some people who are saying that there wasn't a background check. There's no background checks for AR-15/long guns, which is a really ludicrous statement. Alright, every gun in the United States, unless it is me trading with my neighbor, they have to be background checked, alright? Alright, I don't think background checks should go to private purchases, but this wasn't a situation where it was a private purchase. This was a guy going to a gun dealership, asking for a gun, guy runs a background check on him, background check comes clean, and then he gets his gun, even though this guy had a criminal history. Alright, the Air Force did not put in that information, and that caused the deaths of 20 people. It was not the gun. Alright, I am tired of people saying that it's always the gun's fault. That we need more gun control. Okay, gun control does not work and is statistically, verifiably never worked. Alright? I hate how people are also using the option of Australia. Alright, Australia didn't even get rid of their guns legally. They sent in a government registered buyback. And if you didn't do it, they come in and take your guns anyway. So, contrary to many people on the left's claims, this is not the fault of Republicans. This is not the fault of normal people who have guns, who the media like to portray as ignorant rednecks. This is the fault of the government. And what do you respond to the fault of they respond to the fault of the government with? More government faults that they don't think are faults. Alright? I'm tired of people using this shooting to I'm tired of people politicizing this shooting. It's fucking dumb. And there was also some stupid stuff that happened on Capitol Hill too. I think a senator or someone in Congress, it was a Democratic congressman. I have a picture of him and Ben Shapiro's Twitter exchange about it, but he stepped out of the moment of silence on the Hill, just a virtue signal. Alright, it was Ted Lieu. And I don't know how you pronounce his last name. It's spelled Lieu. Ted Lieu, I guess. And he justified walking out of the moment of silence because gun control. That's literally all he did. He wasn't trying to put out he wasn't trying to do something better. He wasn't actually going to the victims in Texas and reaching out to them. He was just leaving a moment of silence and doing absolutely nothing. Ben had a good comeback to that. He said, I wonder, do you often leave during funerals and then do something good after that? Or is this just barebacking or something? And he's just like, no, because there's no gun control, so I'm going to keep protesting a moment of silence to give solidarity to the victims of a shooting because I want a virtue signal. That is the worst justification for that response ever. As the worst justification for basically disrespecting the lives of the people who die in mass shootings, whenever they do actually happen. Alright, and it's sad. It's sad that our politics is just degraded that way. It's terrible. It's the most terrible thing imaginable. And like I said, the left just cannot help themselves from using this to push their ideas. Alright? There's no gun law that would have stopped this shooting. And then the most egregious response came from the people who were saying thoughts and prayers don't matter. Like, Don Lemon, who is a fucking dumbass. Charles Blow, also a fucking dumbass. Like, basically, a lot of people were saying, oh, these people were killed in church, your thoughts and prayers aren't going to help them. Maybe we should do something different. And they started, ranting about gun control and shit like that. And I'm just like, do you not realize how thoughts and prayers work? Like, do you not realize what the biblical meaning for prayers are? They're not so that bad things don't happen, alright? Religious thinkers have been on this topic for years about why bad things happen to good people. The truth is, we have no control over that. We have no control, whether in thoughts or prayers, over what happens to us. Alright? It's up to other people and God how this works, alright? And I'm not a very religious person, but I think that this is a very core belief that a lot of people have, is that bad things are going to happen whether or not you do something good or not. Alright? And it's up to you to use that bad times to do good. Which is, I think, what some people on the left try to do. What they honestly try to do, but there's a lot of people on the left who just give out any good intention and just give it a brutal dick sucking. They give it the brutal dick sucking of establishment politics. Honestly, I don't understand why the left still oozes for gun control. But this also shows the left's scorn for religion in a really mainstream sense. Alright, because I mean, when something happens in a. Because remember how the left is all freaking out about how Sharia law and all that other stuff is common Muslim belief, and that but a bunch of people said, oh, this is all just what the terrorists believe. And then right after Saudi Arabia does something like they'll allow women to drive, they actually start focusing on the bad shit that's actually going down in the Middle East and in Muslim countries. But they will always say, oh, Muslims are the religion of peace and blah 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 blah. They need our thoughts and prayers, blah 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 blah. And then when this shit happens in Texas, shooting at a church, they're like, your thoughts and prayers don't matter. And I'm just sitting here like, are these people dense? Alright, you were defending Islam. Alright, religion, very unperfect. Alright, very far to the... Alright, I think the only reason they do it is because it's very far to... The ideology is also very far to the left. But they jerk themselves off to Islam thinking that, oh, it's such a perfect thing, and just because some people on the right don't like it, that means that we should try to promote it more. I can do a whole thing about why Islam's bad, and why they also hate Christianity, because, I mean, the war against Christianity has been going on for a long time. It's been going on, I think, since the 70s, in my honest opinion. But it's never been really reveled in from the mainstream like it is right now with the Texas shooting, because like I said, they were like why are you saying we need thoughts and prayers for this? We're not passing gun control laws, and they were in a church when it happened, and all this stupid shit. I just point, I like to point this out, like I said with Muslims. If Obama said something like this during the Pulse nightclub shooting, I guarantee you everyone on the left everybody would have, I think everybody on the right would have rightly criticized President Obama for doing that. But then again, and that most of the left actually would be against Obama on that particular thing. But a lot of people wouldn't, and then I think when it came to this Texas shooting, if Obama had actually done that with Pulse nightclub, that a lot of people would actually just jump to that issue anyway because they want to expose their hate for Christians. So, and like I said, as a guy who's not very religious, I can see the scorn that a lot of people on the left and a lot of atheists really have for religion. I mean, I'm friends with atheists. I follow atheists on Instagram who I think are pretty cool. Like one of the big reasons why I'm not an atheist is because of shit like this. I'm not religious, but I'm not an atheist. I said this about, you know, how some of these people were reacting to this, like, oh, it was a church, they were in a church and blah blah blah, and it's like, and there was some, they even had some there was some comments out there that was pretty distasteful even to most atheists, like, not even most atheists, even to some atheists. And honestly, like I said, I am not a very religious person, but I do believe in a God. I do believe that there is a force out there that helps control people's actions. It can help make better people if we look for it right. But I'm not very, like I said, I'm not very religious, and I kind of lean towards atheism, but I'm not a full-blown atheist. And it's because of shit like that. Because shit of people saying, like, thoughts and prayers don't matter. Alright, and it took Tumblr to figure this out, of all people. I saw a Tumblr post that said, I saw a Tumblr post that said, if you criticize someone for saying that you were in their prayers, then you're just being a fucking asshole, because they're calling on a higher power. Alright, if they think you're in trouble and you need help, that's their highest calling. If you're just going to go out and be a dick to them because you don't exactly agree with what they believe in, you're just a fucking douche nozzle. Alright, that's like I said, it's a good reason. That's my entire reasoning for why I am not an atheist. But in this whole shooting, like I said, just shows how much the left just has to scorn out not only religious people, but for people with guns, alright? There was barely very many mentions of the actual guys who stopped the shooting in the mainstream media. You even had some people going as far, like Occupy Democrats, to say, bad guy, to make a tally score with the victims of Texas. Bad guy with the gun 26, good guy with the gun 1. Like it was a fucking football game. Well, not a football game, like it was a freaking soccer game or something. You know, like, shit like that is really disgusting. If victims are just a fucking number to you, then you better play your card. Then you should change the way you style everything. Alright, because it was disgusting for anyone to do it. I didn't think Occupy Democrats would stoop that low, but they did. So, fuck them. Yeah, it's just a bad situation. Alright, I think the only people who have actually made a response to this shooting with actual good, not only good intentions, but were actually very sincere about it, have been people on the right. That's what I honestly think. Alright, almost no person on the left has actually had any good reactions to this. Chelsea Handler to Occupy Democrats to Ted Lieu. There's just no reaction. No good reactions from the left. All I've seen is good reactions from the right. Actual moral reactions. And reactions that people on the left are subsequently ignoring for their own policies that have been proven time and time again to not work. Anyway, guys, thank you all for watching. Like I said, this video wasn't easy for me to make. It was, like I said, I didn't really want to make this, but it happened in my home state. I had to address it. I had to get these things. I had to get some of these things off my chest before I just go to full-blown gaming for a few months. And work's kind of heating up, so I'm gonna try to keep games going as fast as I can. So, anyway, you guys have a good one, and I'll talk to you later.